I mean, he made me feel as beautiful then as I do today.
Wow.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think I knew we were going through it together.
Okay.
And kind of that same analogy, I had so much stuff I needed to work on, and I always knew we would get there. We're going to win.
Sure.
Right? Because we're going to do it until. Mm-hmm. And that until is until we win.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Well, Donnie and Tina Joy Carroll,
Yeah.
welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Excited to be here.
We're excited too.
Yeah, we are. Especially, I love when couples come on. I don't know. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and I think people like to hear kind of not only how you guys met, but what you're doing now and all of the things and relationships.
No, I agree, and I love Tina Joy's name. It's such a Southern name,
Right?
right?
Southern people always have two names.
They do.
You know, like it's
True
never
Southerners.
just like
It's
never
the
just
truth.
like here, if she were born in California,
Yeah.
she would just be Tina Carroll.
They'd be calling her TJ.
Right?
Hey, TJ, what's up, man? Yeah, you'd be calling her TJ or Tijuana, or something.
Right.
But when you're from the South,
Yeah,
like
it's
you know,
Miss Tina Joy.
Tina Joy.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's nice. I like it.
There is nothing better than Southern hospitality, though. People from the South are so nice.
Yeah.
And if you've grown up in Southern California, people are so rude here. I mean, truly. They're in a hurry. Nobody has time. Everything is surface BS. And let's go. And look at my lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And most of it's just a facade.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the rush is the big thing, because any of us, when we're in a hurry or trying to meet a deadline or have to be somewhere, I find that we're not as kind. We don't have the patience that we do. So that can even happen in the South. Most people in the South, you're right, but there are some that are not as kind as others, especially when they're in a rush.
Yeah,
that could be me at times.
Yeah, of course. And I think human nature, it depends on the day.
Yeah. How'd you guys meet?
Yes.
Well, at Lowe's.
Oh.
What?
Wow, department store.
Right. So I used to work at Lowe's, and so did he.
Wait,
and,
Lowe's is not a department.
Or
Lowe's Home Improvement.
Yeah.
home improvement.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
same thing.
And
No.
I was very annoyed by him. I had just gotten in a new position, and it was in outside sales, and I sold roofs, gutters, fences, decks, HVACs, generators, gutters, everything on the exterior of your home. And they had just put me in this position because they were like, we could teach her about those things, but she has this natural ability with people. Except I didn't know how to measure roofs. And so they'd sent me out on a call to go measure a roof, and I was like, I don't know how. And so he happened to be in the store, and I was like, hey, you need to come with me. And he was like, I don't do that. And I was like,
Yeah, you do.
how am I supposed to measure a roof if I don't know how? And so I was super annoyed.
So my side of the story, I was a district manager, had 12 locations. And yes, she did approach me, which backing up a little bit, we had an opening in that location for this position. The person that had been in it didn't perform very well. And she was the #1 salesperson in the region.
Wow.
88 stores, in extended warranty sales in outdoor power equipment.
Wow.
So I looked at the
A woman.
Yeah, a woman.
A Southern woman.
I know that's
awesome.
What I said. That's what I said. So
awesome.
But to put this in here, my dad, I was raised by my dad,
Yeah.
and he owned Hermitage Lawn and Garden Center.
Okay.
So that area wasn't foreign to me.
Oh, so it's your thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I'm talking with a manager, and I said, look, if she can sell extended warranties on lawnmowers, then she can sell roofs, gutters, fences. Let's
anything.
give her a shot,
Heck
right?
yeah.
Plus, I said, hey, if she knocked on my door to sell windows,
yeah.
I'm buying, right? I'm buying.
You're at least, if you don't want one, you're at least listening.
I'm going to listen to the pitch.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fast forward, she got the job. I'm in the store, walking the store, one of 12 now that I have responsibility
of course.
for. And
She's got
so
the nerve.
she did come up.
She got the nerve to ask
Yeah,
the general manager of 12 stores to go in.
District manager.
On a house call?
here's the rest of the story. She did sell that roof that she did not know how to measure. So I did get her hooked up with someone to go out with her and help her.
Very nice.
But she didn't like me when she first met me.
Right.
But it was 2 years later when we
wow.
started talking and dating. Actually, it was 11 years ago yesterday that we went on our first date.
Wow.
It's amazing. But
Nice. See, you guys. My wife and I celebrate our first date anniversary every year.
We celebrate that, and we celebrate our engagement date.
Those are my
Oh,
favorite
wow.
dates.
Those
yeah.
are her favorite dates, yeah. We got engaged at Disney. We were the first engagement
Magic Kingdom.
at the Magic Kingdom at the Festival of Fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
Because she loves Disney, so I knew it'd be
Okay.
hard for her to say no.
Sure.
Right? No, good for you.
I mean, it's the happiest place on earth, so they say.
Good for you.
It is.
Wait, okay, so you guys met. Then what transpired over the 2 years before you actually started to have a conversation and then kind of start?
Well, even
down?
before that, she kind of laid the groundwork by coming up to him. Did you know who he was at first, or did you not care, or
I
did
knew
you kind
of him. I'm just somebody that I'm not afraid
No, but
just to go ask
and that's awesome.
Yeah.
at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm
Sorry,
sure-
go ahead.
But I'm just, well, in the meantime, I'm a single mom raising 3 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd been single, well, by the time we got married, 8 years. And so that was difficult. My first marriage had ended. It was my fault. That's when the drinking happened. The trauma caught up to me from years and years and years ago, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
And so it was just me trying to figure out life and take care of 3 kids on my own and figure out even who I was. I wasn't even sure because since I was 17 years old, I'd been a mom. So my whole identity had been wrapped up into that, and then getting sick and then well, and then just trying to figure out what I was even good at or what I could get out in the world and do. And so that was really, those few years were doing that. And then he and I met, and he was very different than anyone I'd ever dated, mainly because he had a job. But
It helps, guys.
Yeah.
yeah. And so, but he was stable, which was very not normal for me. You tend to attract who you are, right?
Yeah.
And so, it was very natural because he was everything I knew that I needed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we met, and it was 2 years later. I had left Lowe's.
Yep. We could have never dated.
Yeah, we could have never
if
dated.
he
I
was
would have
still at
never
Lowe's.
dated anyone that worked for the company. But I had left Lowe's, and she was having some issues. She was a top 10% in the company, female in a man's world. And she was having some HR issues, and a mutual friend said, "Hey, you should reach out to Donnie. He'll give you some good advice." So I actually got a Facebook message from her, and responded to that message, and then we talked, I think, a couple of weeks later, and started talking on the phone, and I think we talked for about a week and a half, and the CMA awards were coming up, and we had music in common, so I called her and I said, "Hey," are you spontaneous or are you a planner? She's a little bit of both. I said, "Well, would you want to go to the CMA awards tonight?" And the rest is history. That was 11 years ago yesterday. That's awesome.
She's like, "Oh shit, let me run into the closet real quick. Let me see what I got."
Well, well, it's,
I'm sure the phone was like this. She put her hand on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was very fancy for
Right?
me.
Yeah,
Forward
yeah.
for
That
anybody.
was long before the life we have today.
For
I wasn't
anybody.
used to doing anything like
Darn,
that.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That is awesome, bro. I just said yes, too.
you,
You'd have might have ended up someone like me. Can you imagine? I'm hard to date. I'm difficult.
You're
Hard
easy
to work with.
You're easy to date.
Yeah,
You're hard to go on a second.
There we go.
Now, were you sober at this time when you guys initially met? You were working at Lowe's, and then also the first date, the CMAs.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was still, to kind of back it up a little bit, it wasn't like I was someone who always drank.
Okay.
I drank, I started drinking whenever I was going through the divorce. My dad died. Like I said earlier, he is who raised me. And so when he passed away, it sent me into a tailspin because he was the last person that I felt like truly loved me.
Yeah.
So that was just really, really difficult. And so it was like 2009, 2010-ish is whenever I nearly drank myself to death.
Oh, wow.
And it was really because I just had never been exposed to people like me. I didn't know there were other people like me that dealt with the same things I was dealing with and the same traumas I'd been through, as a child and a teenager. And so I had a friend on Facebook who had talked about recovery, and I reached out to him. I knew of him from high school, and I just said, what are these meetings that you talk about? And so it was, December 31st of 2010 that I went to a meeting in downtown Nashville. And it was the first time in my whole life that I'd ever been in a room where people talked about their stuff. And it suddenly made me feel very normal because going into that meeting that day, my thought process was I was going to end my life if it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because the night before I'd promised myself I wasn't going to drink. I had bought my oldest son, Caleb, tickets to a UT football bowl game and to treat him for Christmas, and we went, and I wasn't going to drink, and I did, and he had to drive us home. And so it just gutted me. I was just done and embarrassed for sure. And I just didn't want them to see their mom sick like that anymore, and I didn't know how to get past what I'd been through. I didn't know anything about self-development or recovery or anything. And so all that to say, I went to that meeting that day, and excuse me, it gave me hope. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. There was a lady there who was an attorney, and she pulled me inside. And since it was December 31st, New Year's Eve, she's like, "What are your plans tonight?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And she was like, "How about I take you to dinner and a movie? We don't want you by yourself tonight." And so she took me to dinner and a movie, and it changed my life. It helped me realize that there were more people like me than not. And then every day after that, and even still today, it's just one foot in front of the other, and realizing that God has a bigger purpose and meaning for my life, and the devil is right on his tails trying to make sure that I don't step into that meaning and purpose that God has for me, because it's so big.
Yeah.
And so then when we met, there was definitely still some rebounding for me, back and forth with the drinking, mainly. Not even because when I drank, it was just to stop this.
Yeah.
I just needed the noise to stop because it was maddening from what had happened in my teen years. And when he and I met, I just wanted to feel like I fit in.
Yeah.
Everybody I knew could casually drink and go have fun. I'm not her at all. I don't know how to have one. One turns into 20. And I'm blacked out or in jail. It's super great. So there was a little bit of rebounding back and forth when we first met. And the difference is, I think, with him is because of his story as well, was he wasn't judging me. He was just like,
he understood.
You got to stop, right?
Yeah.
You gotta stop. This doesn't end well if you don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know the day that I did, because I don't know if it was just because I felt safe finally, but I just didn't anymore. And it was just, okay, I'm okay. And then I also too, on the other side of that, I got into network marketing, and if you don't know what that is, think of Amway and Avon, all those things.
Yeah.
And in my industry, self-development is a really big thing. And so getting into self-development just helped me heal. Thank you so much. Helped me heal all the parts of me that I hadn't. And I truly believe that getting into this industry helped me more than anything.
Sure.
Because suddenly I'm reading the books that are helping me work through the traumas, listening to the podcast, going to the events, becoming part of things that I wouldn't have been a part of otherwise. And so all of it collectively combined is how I became the Tina Joy Carroll that you know today.
Yeah.
That's so, wow. Just how beautiful was all of that? And he was talking about just mentioning the name Amway. I grew up in Amway.
So you listen to the cassettes?
Oh, yeah. I've been to Amway conventions.
Yeah.
But I attest all of the stuff that Amway did for my parents, that when I was in the midst of my storms and finally incarcerated, my dad sent me my first book, 2 books. First one was Hung by the Tongue, which it's a book about how if you speak what you get, right? And I was a real negative person. The second one was The Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill. And
Oh yeah.
Yep.
you know, I found the started to find the stuff I needed. It wasn't then that I got sober, but when I hit my rock bottom. And now all of that stuff is such a big part of my life.
Same.
The whole self-development is huge.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I always talk about AA and NA and the 12 steps. They get you sober and they get you living a really good life.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you don't, that's we were talking about that last
Yes.
night. If you don't get behind because you don't drink because you want to drink or do drugs because you want
Yeah.
to do drugs, you do those to. That's your solution to the
Yeah.
problem, right? And so for me, healing all of that brokenness in me, which came through that self-development, and part of that too was being in a room with those people and realizing I'm not alone.
For
I mean,
sure.
because I live in Nashville, and so I mean, there were celebrities in that room, and there were very ordinary people like me in that room, and everybody in between, doctors, lawyers, even homeless, right? And so to see that many people in one room struggling with the exact same things that I was, gave me hope.
Yeah.
Sure.
It really, really did.
And Donnie, you said you understood. You've been there.
Yeah. I 26 years. I was similar to Chad. I think it was meth was my drug of choice. It was cocaine at first. When I was in Florida, I came out here actually Redondo Beach. Was out on the Strand, 89 and 90, and I learned that meth was much better. In an addict
Sure.
size, obviously ice and all of that, it was
Yeah.
not good. But that got me. That landed me in. I went through 7 federal prisons as I was being extradited back to Florida. I ran from Florida to California. For some reason, I didn't think they would catch me. So 17 years in active addiction. 26 years clean now.
Good for you.
October 2nd of 1998 was the last time I used. And so I could definitely relate to it. And I think, you know, my story, all of our stories are unique. And, you know, I'll give all glory to God. We're both devout Christians, and we wouldn't be where we're at without God and without what he's doing through us. And I think that's very, very important. But I was sick and tired of being sick and tired years before I got clean, but just didn't see a way or a path. And I had many people invite me to what was called the Great Banquet, and it's a retreat. Men go one weekend and women go another weekend. Some areas it's called Walk to Emmaus. Catholic Church, it's called the Crucio. But it's essentially a 3-day weekend. You go in Friday night, you're there Saturday and Sunday. And
I've done one of those.
You've done one of those?
I
Okay.
have.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So actually, my youngest brother's father-in-law is the one who invited me, the one that I finally said yes to. So I'm waiting for him to pick me up, and a friend of mine came over. I'm not wanting to use, obviously, but he had some new stuff, right? So he's like, "Oh, you got to try this." So I'm thinking one more won't hurt, right?
Yeah.
So we're out in my shop, and I did a line of meth, and my sponsor picked me up, and so we go to the church.
Oh my goodness.
And so they have a send off, and we go in this room, and we're sitting around tables, you know, and one person's a table leader, and we introduce ourselves and stuff, and we go back in that chapel that we had all left out of, and no one is there, because when we're initially there, all the sponsors are there. And so they have the picture of Jesus, where any way you look at it, it looks like he's looking at you.
Yeah.
They had that setting up on the altar. And I'll never forget this. They said this weekend is for the one who needs it the most and the one who thinks they need it the least. The one who thinks they need it the most, which was me, and the one who thinks they need it the least, because there's pastors in there. There's people from all walks of life in there. But the thing that really got me is they said, this weekend is for you. This was prior to cell phones being big and stuff. It's 98. So they said the scripture that night was, "Be still and know that I'm God." And they said, so we want you to go to your bunk and don't talk to each other. Just tune the outside world out and think about what you want out of this weekend. So I'm laying in a bunk in a church, geeked out of my head.
Yeah.
And it's like the last 17 years, you know, because I was raised, my parents were always married, you know, great home, great upbringing, kind of the white picket fence, you would think. Of course, all families have their issues.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how did I wind up here? And that was it. That was it, right? So we get out on that Sunday, and it was great. And so obviously I knew I had to change everything. So I start going to church. Every time the doors are open, I'm in church. I'm in meetings every day. I'm in meetings in AA. Didn't matter. Small town I was from, 13,000 people. So there's a big revival happening at our church that's advertised across the community. And so we're there that first night of the revival. And this evangelist, I didn't know it was an evangelist at the time. This guy dressed all in black with his Bible and a black leather pouch comes in and throws it in the pew, and the guy kicks back in the pew, and I'm like, kind of like, we're praise and worship. I'm like, who is this dude, right? Well, the guy puts on a lapel mic and he steps out.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know what, and this has only ever happened this one time to me, but I just stepped out in the aisle and raised my arms, and the next thing I know, I went slain in the spirit. Some listeners may know what that is. It's only happened this one time to me. The next thing I know, this gentleman is over me. I'm laying on the ground. He's knelt over me, and he said, in this building is the beginning of the end, and you're being called to the priesthood. So I'm like, wow. What? I'm being called to preach is what I'm thinking. So I'm studying my Bible like crazy and continue to do what I do to stay clean, going to meetings. But I'm trying to figure this out, right? And so in this building, beginning and the end. The other one, I'm thinking I'm just being called to preach, right? But I didn't feel qualified, but I knew, I got to know the word. So one day it just hit me. There was a guy there that night, and he was someone that had been a partier growing up, but he had got his life together. He was in meetings and was straight. He started his own company, was doing very, very well. And again, it's a small community, so everybody knew this. This guy was the first person in this sounds bad, but in the 6th grade on the school bus, he gave me some homegrown weed. Mm. So in this building was the beginning, which was that gentleman, and that was the end. I was delivered from addiction. Some people may not understand that, but you can be delivered. I never, ever had any desire to use meth after that, period. So then I'm like being called to the priesthood, so I'm still studying the Bible. And each morning I would watch actually Creflo Dollar when I got up and drank my coffee and did some quiet time. And he was delivering a sermon one morning, and he was talking about we're all called to the priesthood. And he said the definition of a priest is one who bridges a gap. Boom. So I was kind of like, oh, cool. I'm off the hook from preaching. I have to bridge a gap for other addicts. Yeah. And I just started to work at Lowe's, $8 an hour unloading trucks. And so that was when I really kind of started sharing my story of overcoming addiction and working with other people. That's 26 years ago.
So I was going to ask you, what year was that you started working at Lowe's for $8 an hour?
That was 1998. And yeah, I actually, again, just a God story of, I dropped out of high school. Well, I left high school. I got a high school diploma, but basically I grew up racing cars and stuff. And you're not supposed to do that on public highways, if you don't know. And then when you lose your license, you can't drive either. So at 17, I had 3 driving on suspended license and lost my license. And it hid that from my parents, right? So I was asked to leave town, or I was told you can go to the Army and we'll drop all these charges. So yeah, I had actually joined the Army, came back, was active in addiction. All of this stuff happened. I went to California, but then Lowe's, I just got in there and just ground it out and actually moved to all the way to a regional position with Lowe's, and was called into an office, asked to come to the regional office one day, and for some reason I knew I was going to be let go and had never been wrote up, didn't know why. And there was kind of a changing of the guard with the CEOs, and was severance out of that company, was devastated. That was a time when, that if it wasn't for the people I'd surrounded myself with and the self-development we're talking about and stuff like that, it would have been very easy to fall back to old ways. Because I didn't know. I'm like, why? And had to go and started back with another company as a store manager. It took 2 years before I understood. Romans 8:28 is my favorite verse in the Bible. All things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So I don't know. You know, we all go through struggles. Some listeners may be going through struggles right now. Understand. It was 2 years later. I would not be able to be married to this beautiful woman. Never would have dated her had I still been at Lowe's. So God had a plan all along. It just took a couple of years for me to figure that out. But yeah, I started at $8 an hour and just really studied business and had a lot of great mentors and stuff, and was able to move up through the ranks there. And then when that ended, moved on to Gander Mountain, who filed bankruptcy. And we were sitting on the couch in 2017, and I was watching The Prophet, and I said, my dream would be to work for that guy. 2 weeks later, Marcus Lemonis called me and said, hey, we want to keep you on as part of this company. He had bought Gander Mountain out of bankruptcy. So
Wow.
Right.
and continued to escalate there. So my dream, you know, hey, sometimes your dream, she was the only one that knew that dream.
Sure.
You got to be careful who you tell your dreams to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because God gives you
Yeah, I
that dream.
know.
He may not give it to someone else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they may think you're nuts. But
Yeah.
but she's never thought my dreams were nuts, and I've never thought hers were nuts, because we serve an awesome God.
For sure. I mean, your stories are kind of go right with your favorite Bible verse, because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if you never met him and were walking your journey, who goes to say that you're still sober today because he was able to see you and understand exactly the pain and what you're going through, because he's been there.
Yeah.
And he had years already in the kind of in the books to understand the struggle of what you're going through, and then to be able to kind of be that man to kind of guide you and help you continue to see the light and the better life, and to let you know, like, you're all right.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Yep.
My question is when did you guys let each other know
Yeah.
that you had the struggles? Because
Right away.
right away?
Yeah, it was right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right
Both
away.
of us, just in general, are very transparent people. So that wasn't an issue.
And
For
it makes
sure.
sense, though, because you already, by the time you met her, you probably had, like 14 years?
Yeah, yeah.
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 Like 14, 15 years.
Yeah. So it's like, look, I don't do this.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah, the ironic thing in that is that initially, I mean, I think that I was an encouragement and knew
Sure.
she could achieve more. But then she's always strong when I'm weak. I've learned, you know, her network marketing journey and her growth has inspired me.
Sure.
Her health story, I could show you a picture. She's a little over 100 pounds lighter than she was in 2019.
Oh my
And just
gosh.
recently, I've lost over 30 pounds. I'm now in the gym. She's been going
Whoa.
to the gym, got a personal trainer. So she's helped me as much as I've helped her.
That's a true partnership right there.
Yeah. It's we talk about ego a lot. Your ego is not your amigo.
No, it is not.
Oh, gosh.
Ego is the enemy. That's
It
the
is.
book that
The ego is not your
I was
amigo.
reading on the plane.
Oh,
over here.
really?
Yeah.
Great book.
It is.
Yeah.
I read it every year.
Yeah, it's great.
You have to. I mean, especially as for me and just the industry that I'm in, I could be considered a celebrity.
Sure.
When I go to events, and so it can go to your head really, really quickly. You know, as you hit these
Totally.
ranks and you make more money, and you get invited to do things like this.
Sure.
And so the only way to keep that in check is every year I read the ego is the enemy.
Yeah.
So that I'm just very aware of how quickly it could be gone if I don't
Oh,
keep
for
myself
sure.
in check.
You
I'm
know what?
like,
We need
yeah.
to make that a requirement for Shane.
Oh,
Hi, Shane.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yes.
Have a book I'll give you.
I'll read it. I'll read it.
He actually would read it.
Yeah, I'll read it.
I think we should all read it.
I've
You
read
probably
it.
already read
Yeah.
it. I haven't read it.
yeah.
It's really good.
It's really good. I actually get my kids and their spouses a self-development book every year for Christmas. That because I just don't. I feel like if that was taught in school, we would eliminate a lot of issues people
Oh,
have
man.
with adults.
Seriously.
Well, I'm like, don't get me started. I'm like, if you were to install like the 12 steps of just like Alcoholics Anonymous and call them something very different, obviously you have different books. Like Jordan Peterson has the 12 Rules of Life, which I feel like is very
Yep.
much similar. There's
Yep.
like, you know, correlations between the two. But if you just like implemented those where it teaches you life valuable lessons of just
Yep.
accountability, looking at your own self, like taking ownership for your wrongs, cleaning up your side of the street, and it's okay to say I'm sorry and don't worry about the other guy. Worry about yourself.
Well, the part
Like
that
be the person that you are supposed to be, and don't worry about the other guy. Making amends, say I'm sorry. It
Yes.
doesn't make you weak.
No.
You know,
No.
and then being of service. As humans, that's what that's what fills your cup.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
to be helpful and kind to others. And so I feel like learning those things, because when I got into the program, I thought I was like, you know, raised really selfless and like I was a good person. And then when I really dialed in and started looking at some of my actions, I'm like,
No.
oh,
Yeah.
No.
you know, it makes you, and then you can see like the character defects and like what makes you, you repeat certain things quite often in relationships, and you're able to kind of look at that. So I'm like, gosh, if you instilled that, it'd be very a useful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think one other thing that, because I was raised in a again, what you would say is the white picket fence home.
Yeah.
But and my father, you know, I got so many great things from my father. But there were also things that I missed. But the only example I had of being a husband and a father was from my dad.
Sure.
Well, it took self-development and having a wife who's a helpmate, according to the word, right?
Yep.
We try our hardest to do marriage the way God designed it. That's the way it's going to work the best. But there were a lot of things that were missing that I had to work on. But I thought I was being a great husband.
Yeah.
Right? So when you talk about that partnership, and if my ego was up here, my parents were always married, and I'm too good to listen. And then, you know, a lot of people say knowledge is power, but that's not true. I think
Applied knowledge.
application is where the power comes in.
Yeah.
Knowledge is not power. It's the implementation of the knowledge that
Action.
is the power.
Yeah.
So taking that feedback, working on that. And I mean, I met for a year and a half with a gentleman who had been through what I was going through. So I think it's important to always have mentors, always be self-developing.
For sure. It keeps you in check too.
Yeah.
It really does. And then you're allowed to get out of yourself when you're helping other people, because it's really easy to say in amongst our heads in this self kind of consumed things, especially when you have some goals that you would like to achieve or things that are around you. Life is busy.
Yep.
Lots of things happen, especially once you get your like sobriety back and things start getting full again, because the gifts, the promises start to kind of come to life. And then you have to really make sure your shit is dialed, because you'll get knocked off your socks real quick.
Real quick. It's happened for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But I love that. I think it's really important. Like the marriage and a partnership is for sure key.
With God.
Yes.
Well, with each other, and obviously.
Well,
God
what I'm
the
saying
center.
is, without the God, you're not meeting each other.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Without the God, you're not meeting new people for business. Without the God, you're not open to meeting new people with business. Without that God, you're doing meth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the best illustration I've ever seen is the triangle, and God here at the top and me at the bottom and my spouse. And the closer we are to God, the closer we get together.
Yes.
So
Wow.
if you think about that.
I never saw that.
So God's up here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Tina's here. As we get closer to God, we're automatically
I like
closer
that.
together.
There you go.
And there are times I can't go over here and drag her, and she can't drag me. There are times when she's going to be.
I mean, I've tried a few times.
Yeah, she tried. We both tried.
Yeah.
You know, the joke amongst our friends is that she is me with a vagina, or I am her with a penis.
Sure.
They say opposites attract. It's not true with
that's
us.
not true with
We're
us.
both exactly the same. Exactly the same. It can be great
It can be hard.
and can be very hard.
It's just like
Especially when you have the stuff going on at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's where, you know, partnership sometimes is hard, because like sometimes a lot of times, you know, like my wife will be, she's the one that I can go to, and I'm like, you know, man, life is tough for me right now.
Yep.
And she's just there to just, you know, be supportive and give me that hug or whatever it is that I need. But there's also there's days when like we're both kind of going through it, and I'm like, okay. And like now I notice, now that we've been together a long time, and I draw like the majority of my strength from God.
Yep.
But there's times now when I notice, I'm like, oh, okay, she's having a little bit of a rough time right now too. So, you know, you don't lean on her, lean on God and support her.
Yeah.
That's a good word. It's a good
Yeah.
word.
I was gonna say though about the steps, man, because I don't know what Jordan Peterson's stuff is, but and it's like what Shane just said. The steps are so beautiful and amazing because they do start with God, right?
Yes.
Without God, I'm not even sure people have the ability to do the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th step.
Yep.
And 11th, because 11th is maintaining
and
your
11th is
spiritual
really
connection on a daily basis.
and you're definitely not going to do the 12th if you don't have God, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The selfless service.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think is so beautiful about the steps.
Yeah.
And how I think that it can really empower people to, and that's what I liked about Amway. The Amway that my family was in was called Worldwide Dream Builders, right? And they were very God-centered,
Yeah.
you know, and God first,
Yeah.
and family and togetherness, and it was beautiful.
I love this industry. I was actually a huge hater of it. I made fun of the people who did it. I was like, you
Yeah.
really should get real jobs.
Yeah,
That'd be great if you
Yeah.
quit messaging me on Facebook about your pyramid scheme.
What I know, what is your business called again?
So it's called Trinod is the name of the company, and it's health and wellness products. And so we also have some wealth side of it too, but I focus primarily on health and wellness because that's been my journey. But I just 9 years ago, I finally thought to myself, because I was working at Lowe's, I was top 10% of the company, I was doing well, I was making a little over 6 figures, so I thought I'd hit the big time, especially for a girl like me, high school dropout, teen mom. Been in jail a few times for some DUIs. I thought, man, I'm living the dream, except the dream didn't look the way I expected it to look. And by that, I mean, I just didn't have the time freedom, and I didn't know how to get that. And so I knew that grandchildren were going to be a real possibility soon. And all I wanted more than anything was to be a very present grandma. And so I thought, the time's going to pass anyways. Why not try? And so I did. I just said, okay, you know what? I'll try, and ended up being really good at it and loving it and being super passionate about it. And because part of it, and it's even what you just said, is, in this, I get to help other people realize who they can be and pull out the strengths in them and pull out things in them that they didn't even know were in them, because most people aren't in a self-development world. And if I can help enough people get what they want, it's inevitable. I will have everything that I desire. And so this industry just really worked well for me, which was funny because I wasn't a big fan of women.
Sure.
At all. At all. I think I just felt like they were catty, and just with my experience with women in my life, that
usually they are.
They
And
really
usually
are.
they're terrible.
They are. And
I'm with
so it just was,
It is.
and then this industry is 80% women. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, God's got a sense of humor. Thanks, God.
Yeah.
I get to help a lot of women. But the beauty in that is just being real and transparent with them and with my audience on social media about who I was and how I got here, and then also for them to continue to see the evolution, because I won't be here long, because God's going to continue to elevate and change who I am to take me to the next level, as long as I'm willing to step in and do the necessary work. And so it's just been a beautiful process.
I want to talk about I just saw this picture.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't even know who that person is.
I
Like,
know,
that's totally,
right?
completely doesn't even look recognizable to the woman that's sitting in front of me today. So I want to ask, how did you end up gaining that much weight?
Yeah.
And
'cause
then-
I wasn't always big.
Right. And then what made you all of a sudden decide, okay, we got to do something? Was it a health, did something happen medically, or did it just kind of get, everything kind of sometimes gets away from us?
So I just, in 2012, 2013, I started to have who has teenagers. Those are fun. I always say that grandchildren are the reward for the teenage years.
Okay.
So we were going through some things with the teenagers, and I just stopped taking care of me completely. And I honestly believe in that period of time, the food replaced the alcohol. And I just, within a few years, I'd gained 100 pounds. And,
Wow.
And then the number on the scale seemed so overwhelming that how would I ever even lose that?
Were you married at this time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
So you married somebody that was 100 pounds lighter, correct?
Yeah.
And then she gained 100 pounds while you guys were married.
Yep.
That's another, I want to put a pin in that.
Yeah.
And then come back to that, because that's hard to do as well.
Well,
to be
and he never
marrying
made
somebody.
me feel like,
right.
I mean, he made me feel as beautiful then as I do today.
Wow.
Yeah,
For sure.
And I think I knew we were going through it together.
Okay.
And kind of that same analogy, I had so much stuff I needed to work on, and I always knew we would get there. We're going to win. Right?
Sure.
Because we're going to do it until. And that until we win.
Yeah.
Until we hit that goal. And then we're going to set a new goal,
Sure.
right?
I do want to say that's the addict mentality, and that's if we can take our addict mentality
Yes.
into our recovery,
Yes.
that is how we become successful. She calls it herself a tornado, right? And as long as you can direct that tornado, because
Yes.
you put the substances back into her, she will tear a city down.
Oh,
Same.
I agree 100%. And you look, and I know there's people that's listening to this. It's like, oh yeah, it must be nice for you guys. Hey, look, we can all do it. If we just take everything that we put into getting our next fix or hiding our addiction, and we put that towards something positive. That's all I did to achieve success in business.
Yeah.
That's what she's done. That's what you guys have done.
Yeah.
We all have it in us, and the enemy wants to keep us bound in that
Yes,
addiction
he
because he
does.
knows what God has for
yeah.
us. He knows how many people we're going to impact. He knows how many lives we're going to change. He wants you to stay in shame, even if you're in recovery and afraid of sharing that. I was there for many years. I'll never forget it. I was in a meeting, and this was with executives, and it was with Camping World, with Marcus. And I have to hats off to him because he wants the true, authentic person. So he was talking about purpose, and they're going around the room, and I just knew, I had that feeling, the Holy Ghost bumps, like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
He was
yeah,
on
yeah.
me like, you got to say it. You got to share it with all these people. And I'm like, oh, no, I could lose my job. I could, the enemy was right there, speaking those negative thoughts. And man, I stood up and I said, my purpose is to help other people understand that there is hope beyond addiction. I was addicted to meth and alcohol for 17 years. And after that, it opened so many doors.
What was your title at Camping World when you made that statement?
I was a vice president at that time.
Yeah.
I was a vice president, and I had multiple executives to message me and call me, and that opened a lot of doors. I've been able to work with a lot of other people that have had struggles, and it's been such a blessing.
Did Marcus know this? Anything about this?
Yeah, Marcus knew. He knows completely about my addiction and my recovery, and don't have any college, no MBA, none of this business school. School of Hard Knocks, bro.
I mean, dude, there's nothing better than the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
You know, you can have all the MBAs in the world.
Yeah.
And man.
Yeah.
I love stories of recovery and success because that's the point that I was making at the beginning is like the 12 steps, AA, NA. I love both of them. I love the steps. It gets you sober and it gets you right.
Yeah.
And then there's more.
There is more.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to just be stuck there. Because sometimes I think, there are people in the program that are like, this is good enough. And it is for some people. But then there is more.
Yeah.
We are all called, and I don't know who, but everybody is called. We all have a primary purpose, right?
Yep.
We all have a primary purpose, and that's to serve God and help others.
That's
Yes.
it.
Yes. This is a ministry for us, and I mean this whole podcast and just you being obedient. I mean, seeing you guys. I don't remember the health symposium or whatever it was that you guys spoke at, and you being obedient and starting this podcast as a result of a tragedy with your son-in-law. There's such a need out there for all of us, not to just be all right, but let's freaking do something. Let's do something. We are the hands and feet of Jesus, and we need to show that each and every day.
And there's no reason to feel like you can't thrive and live such a impactful life and feel stuck. That was kind of the point. It's
so crazy to be obedient, and God has always my biggest fear. I was so scared on that that symposium, that round table that we did.
Yeah, don't lie. You're so scared every day before you sit down in your chair and you have your mic.
In here? No, not in here. This place I was not, public speaking was never going to be something I did. I ditched school that day. I dropped out of high school because there was no way of graduating if you didn't do a presentation in front of the class.
Yeah.
I didn't make the presentation in class. I was busy making babies.
Yeah.
My shirt was red and then it was dark red because I had pit stains all the way down to my damn belly button. Like, terrible.
Both her and I are. I mean, all three of us have it.
Yeah, everybody does. It's the number one fear that
Yes.
that people are deathly scared of public speaking
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
over anything.
And
Oh,
then on
for
top
sure.
of that, like, what the hell? Russell Brand went like 4 people before me, so I'm like,
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
right. Like,
I'm
high
like,
five, dude.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
you know. And then
Yeah.
it was Russell Brand, celebrity Natalie, then me, and I'm like, oh my god. And I'm listening to all of them, and I'm like, these guys are crushing it. And then when it got to Natalie, I'm like, well, I know she's scared as crap right now, but she's still crushing it because her and I know her, right? And then I'm like, then I get the mic, and I'm just like, I was just like, God, you just speak through me because I can't do this.
That's what I do
Yes.
every time before I speak every time.
Yes.
And then I went off for like 3 minutes, and then I was like, and then I was like nervous as hell, and I was like, I could feel the sweat starting to beat up on my head, and I was like, Chad, you got about 40 seconds, wrap this up, shut it down.
You did great.
You guys did awesome. Did
you.
awesome, and it was just
you.
so encouraging to see that. And this is just an example. I mean, I think you guys are about episode 200.
Yeah,
I mean,
almost.
the millions of lives, the ripple effect that you're having, and you may not know it for years,
Or at all.
yeah, or at
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or at all, but doing eternal work, not temporary stuff that's going to make a difference long term.
But I do want to get back to your question because I just think
Yeah.
it's important for the viewers to hear, or the listeners to hear, is that I became successful. And here I was, the heaviest I'd ever been. I was smoking cigarettes. And I remember being in rooms with people who were healthy, and these successful people, they didn't smoke cigarettes, and they didn't look like I looked. They were taking care of their bodies. And so I was like, okay, I got to get this under control. And so initially in October of 2019, opted for weight loss surgery. And I thought that was going to be the end all be all for me. I was going to have the surgery and life was going to be easy. Well, lo and behold, that wasn't my story. I had weight loss surgery and I paid $18,000 to lose 37 pounds. And then I didn't lose another pound. And then 2020 happened. And so I wasn't traveling and going to events and speaking at events. And so I was left just to face me. And I believe it was all God for sure, because I had to really deal with how I got 100 pounds overweight and not have a, and I don't want to say it's easy because weight loss surgery is not easy. And that's not what I mean to say
No,
when
for
I
sure.
say that, because some people need that desperately. He needed me to do it different. And so that just left me with my eating habits, and I had to get a healthy relationship with food. And in the beginning, it was just walking my neighborhood because I was too embarrassed to go to a gym.
Sure.
I didn't know what I was doing in a gym. It felt very foreign to me. And so I just walked and I ate right and continued to lose weight until I got comfortable enough in my own skin to hire a personal trainer. And so now I've had a personal trainer for almost 4 years, and it's just changed my life. And in that building that muscle of eating right and going to the gym, it transformed every other area of my life as well, in my relationships, in my business. So my business started to grow. My relationships started to get better. I started to get healthier. I started to set a better example, not only for my kids and my grandkids, but for the people who were watching and just sharing that journey. And so now I'm actually the healthiest I've ever been. I'm at a normal weight range for the first time in my adult life, because remember, I had my first child at 17 and I'd gained 70 pounds whenever I'd gotten pregnant with him. And so it's just been now I look back and I'm thankful for the journey that God took me on with that, because it just taught me so much. And you said something I really resonated with a while ago about how if people that struggle with addiction of any kind could take that power and they could harness it to entrepreneurship. What I think is so powerful is, and especially in my industry, is I love to get people in recovery in the business because they've already hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. Making a post on social media or putting themselves out there is not at all hard compared to what they walked through or been through, right?
Yeah.
To the mug shots or the time in jail or, any of those things. And so all of it makes for the story of Tina Joy Carroll today. And so while a lot of it was extremely hard and caused a lot of shame and consequences, it all of it made me who I am today. And so I don't regret any part of it, even though I wish some of the people that were hurt in the process didn't have to be hurt by my actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And-
the only negative.
Yeah.
I've heard her story. People ask how she lost the weight
Yeah.
before, and she'll look at them and say, "I started making my bed." And we were talking about books, Atomic Habits,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a
Yeah.
book
Such a
that
great
really
one.
helped.
Yeah, I read that.
Really helped
Great.
me. Just
Simplistic
we can
things.
look at things and see so huge. I talked a little bit about losing a little bit of weight and getting
Yeah.
in the gym. It's just doing do one new thing
yeah.
and get in the habit of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pretty soon you'll look back 5 years later and you'll be like, wow, just like with Tina. I mean, it's a different person.
Oh, totally. I didn't even recognize like that photo at all. Like,
But I
you-
had to be her. And this is what I try to teach people is I had to show up at my heaviest on stage. I couldn't even wear heels. I had to wear flip-flops with my dress because my feet were so swollen. I was so
right.
inflamed that the heels just destroyed me. I had to show up as her to be the girl sitting here today.
Oh, for sure.
Like I couldn't be here today if I didn't show up like that. And most people want to skip that part.
Yeah.
They want to get to here without going through all of the things that get you here.
Yeah. And you ask, how I took her gaining
Sure.
that weight. And I was talking about I was meeting with a mentor, and I talked a little bit about my dad needing to work on being a great husband according to biblical standards. So one of the things in Ephesians 5:25, husbands are called to love their wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. So there's a book out there, Discovering the Mind of a Woman by Ken Nair, and I met for a year and a half with a gentleman studying that book. And I understood through that part of her weight gain, part of your wife's, and hey guys, don't come at me here, but I'm just going to explain the word. To love her like Christ loved the church. Christ loved me even when I was out using. He loved me just as much when I was out in active addiction as he does today.
Yeah.
So he loved me even when I wasn't doing what he thought I should do. So I had to love her that same way. That's the way I'm called to love my wife, even when maybe I think she's not acting the way I think she should. And the lack of doing that, of loving her that way, impacts everything in your wife's life. It impacts her health. It impacts her mental health, her physical health. So I don't think and don't get me wrong, she put in all of the work, but I knew in meeting with this gentleman, and this book spells this out, there are tons of examples of husbands who really worked on becoming a husband according to the way the Word of God lays it out, that their wives suddenly got healthier and suddenly a mental health issue went away. I don't think that's an accident. So I think part of her putting on the weight, sure, it was the teenagers, it was the kids, it was life, but I wasn't helping that as a husband.
Sure.
Because I wasn't loving her like Christ loved the church. The least little thing, if the house wasn't right or whatever. So I take ownership in part of why she gained that weight as well. And so I think it's a culmination, all of those things working together. Again, us both working on our relationship with God and getting closer to God has just brought everything. And not just with us, but our children now their lives are 180 degrees different, as well as when I say this is a ministry. I mean, we've been blessed to see people come to Christ, baptize them in our swimming pool, families now that are serving the Lord in their local churches. So, I mean, again, God will work through any of us. He'll take an old hillbilly addict and, he'll do some amazing things.
I love what you said so much because I think one of the reasons I fell in love with my husband is because he was very much heavy into, he knew the word. And so he was able to lead me, which I've always had a connection with my God of my understanding. I mean, I grew up a Catholic, so I didn't have that issue, but I didn't understand all of the real nuts and the bolts. But what I took from your guys' story, which I think is so beautiful and kind of has so much correlation within the program and within relationships, and you can kind of pour it into any type of situation that you're dealing with another human, is it's very easy to pick apart somebody else, especially when it's your spouse or your significant other or a best friend or whatever it may be, where you come home and it's like, why isn't the house picked up? Why didn't you vacuum? You didn't go and get the groceries. Or it's very easy to just nitpick somebody else when you're not right with yourself and you're not right with what's going on within whatever chaos is going amongst your own brain. So you just want to pick at somebody else. But when you start dialing your own shit and start the whole program is attraction rather than promotion, right? So when you're getting right with God, with the word, doing the things that we need to be doing to like maintain our daily sobriety, have that daily reprieve, all of a sudden it's funny how things just kind of slowly start to work out. And then the other one, you're not finding yourself nagging on that other person or picking at them, or you're not having these arguments, and all of a sudden things are kind of, you know, you're back to this equilibrium. It's weird how that does work out, because I do see it time and time again of wanting to all of it immediately like go into anger or upset with somebody else because something's not right, when usually it's because I'm the problem. I'm like doing something not right.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I also
I love
think
that.
that one of the things that addicts struggle with is for me at least, I can only speak for myself, is the shame behind
Sure.
the kids and what they have to witness.
Sure.
And I believe that's what, I don't believe, I know. That was the hardest part of recovery for me.
Sure.
Was what they had to witness and what they had to see their mom go through, because I was single. It was just, you know, the four of us living in a home, and what's, you know, wild is that in my head I had this version of what I thought that their life was like, and then after, you know, I get well and life is good, and then I'm talking to them, having healthy relationships with, or conversations with them about all of that. You know, I just never forget my oldest son was like, "Mom, it wasn't as bad as you think. You just sat in the garage and drank alone. We just didn't understand why you would drink by yourself." And so in my head, you know, and I say that because I want to encourage people, like, what you think is probably very different than what they think. And at least for my kids, what I love most about the whole story is that they did see the downfall of their mother. You know, they did see the worst of the worst, but they also got to see the most amazing comeback ever. And they get to be in the presence of us, and they get to see their mom impact people through the industry that she's in, and it's changed who they are. And so we're all better because of it, truly.
Yeah, they will forever know what resilience is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because, like, shit makes me cry too. Damn. Like, we fall, man.
Oh,
We
yeah.
do.
You know, my 20 Aurora, my oldest, she's 23, almost going to be 24 in a bit. She's the reason why everything is in my life besides God. You know, God made all of this happen, but when she was born, I knew that God had left me here for two reasons. One, to be a father to that little girl, and to help other people that suffer with the same things that I suffer from. And I did a really good job with her for 9 years. And then I fell. And I struggled for the next like 5 to 7 years. And especially during the times when she needed me most, you know, like high school. I was in the midst of my meth addiction, and it was bad. And, you know, and she started struggling with drugs, and but she got to see the same thing. And so did my son. I don't want to discount, but my son, my ex-wife kind of hid it from my son, but my little girl, she's mine, and her mom's a heroin addict. And I've had her since she was 36 days old. So, you know, I've been like her mom and her dad. We always joke about. But she's seen the same resilience, but she's the one that found, you know, at 21 years old, found my son-in-law dead from fentanyl. And but like this morning, it's a trip, because like this morning I was like I'm proud of her, because it's been a little bit over 2 years, and she's starting to figure out life. You know, she's going to be 24 years old, and I am proud, because I also don't know if she would have been able to grow up if he was still here. And even though this has been one of the hardest things for somebody to have to walk through to grow up, she's grown up.
Yeah.
You know, and I see that she's starting to attract different people. She went through, she struggled with, you know, after Justin died, she gained a lot of weight, and now she's lost it all.
That's so good.
And, you know, just all of the things that I'm witnessing and watching her, and I probably need to tell her this later today, is how proud I am, because now I'm seeing that she's attracting different type of guys. She like last night, first time since Justin died, and I'm not, you know, I am always the guy that if my daughter brings a guy home, I don't like him right away. Immediately.
Are you cleaning the guns, Winnie?
I mean, I let her know to let them know that I have guns that I can throw away. Can we bleep that part out? Yeah. But my point is she, for the first time, she asked me last night, can a guy come over and help me decorate the Christmas tree? And I was like, and my answer was,
What is
yeah, as long as he's somebody that I don't like, as long as it's not somebody that I don't like. And she knows what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a job and don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Treat my daughter
This guy's
respect.
a Marine. I'm not ready to meet the guy yet, so like, you know, it was like right around my bedtime anyways.
So like 6 p.m.?
7.
7.
Sorry.
8.
I mean, it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
Right. If you have that East Coast time, for
Yeah. You know, same time they go to bed. But then my wife like sent me a picture of he had her on his shoulders, because we have like cameras everywhere now. Putting on decorations.
You should have
and it
came
was
right
like-
down and said, hey, this is a little too close.
Right.
We're in my house.
I see you on camera.
But like, no, I'm just saying at the end of the day, it was like cute,
Yeah.
you know, and
Nice, sweet.
And I don't know what the whole point of that this was. It's just that the resilience.
It is.
There is resilience, and without Justin's death, she wouldn't be where she's at.
Well, and it's to show, like for me, what I believe to my core is that it's to show those kids and my grandchildren absolutely anything is possible.
100%.
Anything is possible if you're willing to put in the work. And that's the message I want to show people, whether it's in your health, your wealth, your relationships, all of it just requires you putting in the work and doing it for an extended period of time. And we always talk about, and I teach in my organization, you just do it until. Until what? Until you do. That's it. Just until you do. I don't think you arrive. I think you continue to learn. You continue to grow. I don't think we're ever meant to just get stagnant in where we are. You know, I don't know what the future holds or where God's leading me, but I just know I'm going to continue to do it until.
No, that's so smart, because I think the biggest misconception is I've arrived. Once you start thinking like that,
You have not.
you're about to hit
You
your
have in
downfall.
fact not.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of, I mean, I don't have children, but I have seen from the women in the room and the men to like my own family, the amount of burden that it holds amongst the addict feeling so ashamed or so guilty or whatever it may have you in the mind. But the beautiful thing is you guys coming on here today and sharing your story of look at you now, because what if that did not happen? What if you didn't take that chance of walking into that first AA meeting and of feeling that you belonged amongst all of these individuals from all different backgrounds struggling with the same exact thing? Because now those children get to see, wow, look what mom did.
Yeah.
So proud. The strength that it takes for someone to admit their defects and then improve on them daily, that's true power. That's true strength in my eyes.
Same.
Because it is very easy to stay in this like woe's me victim mentality and not do anything. But
Well, no, almost like the world encourages that because they want you to be weak.
Yeah.
And you're very weak when you're in that mentality.
Well,
They
and you
think
don't have
that
to
they're
work.
strong. People think you're stronger if you just don't talk about it and you just, suppress. And that is in fact the ultimate weakness. I believe it is true strength to step out and just share your story and what you've gone through, because the only thing more powerful than fear is hope. And it's if we can just share our stories, just like when I walked in the room that day, it was the stories. It was like, oh, wait, you're a country music star.
Sure.
You're like me. You just don't know until you're around those people. And so that for me, it's just continuing to share, hey, this is who I was. This is the journey. and this is where I am now. I don't plan to stay here, but you could do it too. Mm-hmm. And you just have to do it one day at a time.
For sure. That's it.
I am literally stealing that saying that you just said right there. The only thing more powerful than fear is hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
I only have to say it 2 more times, and then it's mine. And I will say say it tomorrow night at our meeting.
And then
I'm
I'll
gonna
get
let
asked, what did she say again? And then I'll have to feed him the line.
I love it.
Write that down, Emily. Type it in there. The only thing more powerful than fear is hope. You guys know what the acronym for hope is?
What?
Hold on, pain ends.
Oh, I did not know
Hold on,
that.
Pain ends.
Can we write that down too?
We've got
love
fear,
that.
right? There's the two sides of fear, right? There's fuck everything and run,
Yep.
or we can face everything and recover.
That's right.
I really love that though.
That's right.
Hold, not that.
No. What I say?
The only thing more powerful than fear
is hope.
is hope. Do you ever wonder what goes on through Shane's brain? Because I just looked at him. He's
I
smiling.
mean, I'm definitely wondering because he hasn't said much.
That's
That's Shane. He's thinking about probably an appointment or something.
No.
that he
I
has
was
in
just
his life.
He's
thinking.
into this
I
one.
had
He's
read a
into
book.
this one.
I had read a book where hate is stronger than love.
no.
And that the bad side is stronger, and that's why we have to continuously give our life to God on a daily basis.
That's not real. That's not true.
I'm just
Emily's
saying-
over there
I'm
cracking
just-
up on what you just
Yeah,
said.
that's
right
not
there.
true.
I'm just
Because
saying that
love
I read,
outweighs hate. Love is more powerful than hate.
I
You
read
just
differently. I read the
It's a
opposite.
terrible
Was this
author.
in the? Was
She's
I
gonna
read-
find
What-
out it's
what-
like
yeah,
John
did-
Maxwell.
what?
This is
I just
why-
want to know.
I know.
Did
This
this,
is why we pray to God on a daily basis so we can stay in the positive.
Yeah.
did this come out of
We
out,
wake
out
up,
of the
you
Bible?
No, it was a study. I forget what college did the study, but you wake up in pain. You wake
I
up.
think,
know,
I think
that's-
what you're saying is humans, we tend to gravitate
Yes.
towards, it's so much heavier and easier to gravitate
That's
towards
all
like,
I'm saying.
hate and pain.
That's all I'm saying.
So yeah.
You know, I just heard. Actually, it was Jelly Roll on social media
Sure.
a couple of days ago, and he talked about the battle each morning. He needs 1 hour each morning.
Yep.
And he said, I got up angry for so long in active addiction that it takes an hour. And it's the good guy and the bad guy fighting.
Oh.
It's me and God fighting the bad guy each morning so that I don't walk out the front door angry.
Yeah.
So I think maybe your
exactly.
comment on hate versus love, that you got to fill that tank, and whether it's, I know that,
You got to fill the tank.
I think it
Yeah.
goes with everything that we want and that is a positive in our life, that it takes an immense amount of work. The other thing doesn't. I can be consumed with self-loathing, not wanting to do something, filled with, picking myself apart, all of these things, but you have to be disciplined to make those daily habits of sitting with God, sitting in meditation, sitting in prayer,
Takes work.
saying the daily reprieve comes from the work. You have to have actionable steps daily. So that way, I always use the reference, because I'm sure we've all heard it in meetings in the rooms of like, my disease, that bitch doesn't take a break. She's doing push-ups 24/7.
Yep.
She's a beast.
Yeah.
And so she's ready to take me and kill me every day. So I have to combat that. And I'm super aware of that now because I've tried to coast and rest on my laurels. And that has definitely done me
What
no
side
good.
seems more powerful?
Huh?
At that point, I'm saying, so what side seems more being idle?
No, I actually
Being idle.
You're
Being
right.
idle.
I
You're right.
agree
You
now.
just
Yeah.
referenced it a little bit
Without-
wrong.
I referenced
That's
it
all.
wrong. Yeah.
but you're
Without
right.
God, hate is more powerful.
Easily.
right.
Yeah,
That's all I was saying.
Totally.
That it's a daily thing.
Yep.
That
But
you have to
love
maintain.
conquers all.
100%.
Love does conquer all.
And it always wins. When you lead with love and when you lead with that empathy and compassion, always wins. And it'll always outride. It just, unfortunately,
I like
it's a
to
little bit of
lead
work.
with. I like to lead with the with.
No,
what's
not that.
Pop and lock.
Not
Pop
that.
and lock.
No, you try to do the worm. No. Nope.
She's immediately cutting you off.
Which one? Because both of them were cutting
Emily
me off.
loves
One
it.
was cutting me off of the camera.
I thought it looked good, Chad.
But
I
I'm
thought
like,
it looked good.
but I feel like your guys' story is just another testament of like the power of two individuals, totally separate, different lives, having the disease and then being able to see it, having the self-awareness to put in the work, find God, and then eventually it led you guys to one another when you were fully ready. when you're fully ready to kind of then become one.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what a marriage is too.
It also gave me permission to forgive my mom.
Sure.
Through it, because she left when I was 2, and I just put that was part of my trauma, was if your own mother doesn't love you and can leave you, then how could anyone, right? And it just was a real struggle. But then in recovering, I had peace, and I just understood mentally healthy people don't live their children. They don't. Yeah. And so it gave me permission to forgive her and just to see her for who she is and where she is, and not expect anything more of her until she has to go through her own recovery. And I may not get that on this side of heaven, and that's okay. But it made me see her in a whole new light, which then gave me the ability to move past it. Because for so long, it was my excuse. It was what I hung on to. Like crazy, I would hang on to that and didn't even realize I was. But and then I seen my worth through that everywhere I went, And so it gave me permission to forgive her and just move on past it.
Yeah, which is so important. And a lot of people need to be able to work through those types of situations that they carry for so long and for too long, because we're all human. We're all trying to do the best that we possibly can. And I think that every single person, regardless if you're an addict or an alcoholic, you want to have some sense of peace, really.
For sure.
Like everyone uses the word happiness, which I think that's just like fleeting and comes and goes. Yeah. Happiness is a feeling. We want peace. We want to be okay to sit and look at myself in the mirror and be like, you cool. You good.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you said about your daughter and her mom. I mean, it's just her being able to say, it wasn't me, the reason that she's not here, right? Because I know as a mother, like, you would have to pry my children out of my dead hands.
Sure.
There's just no way. And so my hope is that gives other people hope that struggle with what I did.
Yep.
Because I see my worth through that my whole life, which then led down to an incredibly yucky path of, trying to find value in
all other things.
All the other things.
Yep.
Men.
All of it.
Drinking, food, you name it. It was all of those things.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys do now? What's your main objective now? Because you don't work still with Camping World, right? Do you still?
He likes to call me his sugar mama.
I like it.
I was going to retire at the end of this year. I let Marcus and the executive team know in June. And so I have stayed on as I'm helping with some training, facilitate training and stuff like that.
Nice.
So yeah, that's worked out. I'm still kind of part of the family, but I am more focused now. The reason I was retiring is to help Tina with the business, with our ministry.
Yeah.
And then spend time with the grandkids. I mentioned earlier that, our grandson, we're doing some things, our granddaughter's cheerleading now. So just having time for them. And we've both known that God has more. You talk about levels, just like you guys, you've all achieved different levels, and then it's like, okay, what's next, God? And He's always going to take you to that next level. So honestly, we're not 100% sure. We know it's in ministry, and it's going to be helping others.
Yeah.
Just giving back. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm doing a little bit, about 1 week a month. I go into the corporate office. We'll facilitate some training or something like that. But mainly, we've been traveling, spending time with the team.
Yeah.
Doing some events and just trying to take that next step in the direction that God leads. So
nice,
I
good
love
for you
that.
guys.
So you love racing.
I love racing.
The reason why we know you,
yes,
is because of one of our amazing guests, Amber Balkin.
Yes.
Who
awesome.
Took us to Daytona 500.
What'd you guys think?
I mean,
Amazing.
It shakes your soul.
To be honest
when
with
those
you,
cars go that fast.
I'm a NASCAR fan because of that, because of what she did.
Me too. I thought, like, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I was like, is it like a bunch of rednecks drinking Budweiser? Like,
Sure.
Like, why would I want to go?
Yeah.
I just really didn't understand what I didn't understand. You don't know what you don't know. And he took me to.
And she had the same experience you guys did.
Yes, he took me to Miami and a few years back, and I was like, okay, this is nothing like I expected. I mean, I'm thinking Talladega Nights. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right. That's literally what I'm thinking. And I go,
first, you last.
Yeah. And then I get
I wake
there.
up each morning and piss excellence.
But and I just when those cars drive by, it literally just shakes you to your core because TV does no justice to how fast
No.
these things
It
go.
doesn't.
Or
Yeah.
this sport. This sport it has to be the most incredible sport on the planet, and it's just wild. But yeah, it's a really cool sport.
Did y'all get that? My wife said NASCAR is the most awesome sport on the planet, so that's good.
That is good.
I mean, it was crazy for me because I didn't even really know what to expect or what was going to happen. But like we were sitting in the pits, right? And
Yeah.
everybody's so freaking nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, there's guys like about to change a tire, and I'm like, "Am I in your way?" You know, and they never once were they like, "Get out of the way," or nothing. They just
Salt of the earth people. I when I mentioned I was with Lowe's, I did a lot with Lowe's and Jimmy Johnson, who
Okay.
is the only one to
Yep.
ever win 5 championships in a row. I was actually there for that. That was in Miami. He won 7. Only Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and Jimmy have won 7 championships.
Crazy.
But spent time with Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon and those guys multiple times. And just the most, to your point, down to earth, great people you will ever meet. Humble, just first class.
Yeah.
And what they do, what goes into that, and you don't realize it till you're at the track. If you're watching it on TV, it's kind of like teen. Everybody thinks, oh, they just go in circles. But when you go there and when you look at the engineering that goes behind those
completely.
cars, a half a pound of air in the right rear tire can make all the difference. And then you look at
Your
how
pit
close.
crew.
Oh yeah,
Changing if one guy kind of isn't on the same page, kind of messes up a little bit or misses a step. That's money. That's a
money.
problem. So it's like teamwork. You only see like the driver and they get like the glory when it's like no. That is a lot, but it's not the entirety. It's literally that entire team from the guys that are calling to the whole crew. It's phenomenal. It's amazing.
And those pit crews, I mean, the training that they put in.
totally.
I mean, if you ever go like at Hendrick, they have a car that sits in a sand pit. And so the sand obviously makes it harder to get around the car. And then you probably know most of those pit crew members are college athletes that didn't quite make it to the pros.
Yeah.
Because they can teach them to, if they're agile and if they're fast, they can teach them, how to change the tire strong, all of those things. But yeah, it's unbelievable what goes into those race teams and into doing those jobs. So
I was shocked by how tiny they were.
Oh, I know. Not only that, but how about just being inside that vehicle too? I couldn't do it. I would legit get
Claustrophobic.
for sure. First of all, my hair wouldn't fit in the helmet. But but that's
need a
another
pink
thing.
helmet.
And I'd add a little bit of weight too. But just the amount, like how tight you're in it, and then also too, I think what TV does like a disservice is you're not paying attention to weather plays a huge role into like from what tires you're actually putting on the car. Are we gonna do like the wets or whatever they're called? Sorry guys if I'm saying it incorrectly, but
they do have a rain tire.
yeah,
that they
right.
put you.
So it's like, and then they have, depending on how slick the track is, if they're even going to put those on because it can add a little bit more time to different tracks to then all of a sudden shit changes on a dime. So like all of a sudden, somebody makes a move and then boom, you have like a 7-car pileup.
Yep.
And a guy that was leading, now all of a sudden, the dude that's running 9th is all of a sudden now in first.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many moving parts that are constantly happening. And then to have that same like dialed in concentration for the driver, for the team to be that dialed for that long is wild.
Yeah, it's unreal. I thought I knew, I've followed NASCAR my entire life, and I thought I knew, but we got a sim machine at the house.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
a
It's
company-
amazing, right?
Oh,
Sick.
But what's unreal when you're running at like Daytona or
Yes.
Talladega and you're in the draft and it's the least.
Oh my
little
God,
move,
totally.
And it's all of you are piled up. I mean, it is crazy the concentration. And I don't do. I mean, most of our races on there are like 40 laps, and they're doing 200.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of, I mean, and when I get off of it, I am just, and the wheel takes the same strength.
Yep.
My forearms are pumped, and mentally I'm just exhausted. I can't imagine doing it for 200 100 laps.
And then think about how many calories you're losing within that time that you're just.
What do they say? They're all
and-
losing about 8 pounds of water
Yeah.
of fluids.
And here's the other deal. When I crash on my sim, I mean, I get out of it, I go
course.
downstairs and make me a glass of water, and I'm good. These guys are risking, and gals are risking their life.
Yep.
For sure. That's why they throw blows after the fight, after the races sometimes, because, shit's getting a little heated, and sometimes people, make a little ballsy choice, and it's like, nah, bro. Don't, you're messing with not only my livelihood, but then that driver, think about how many people are making a check from that team.
Absolutely.
A ton. So it has a ripple effect. So people are always like, yeah, they're fighting. Oh my
I had
God.
that on the 73 today. I did. I had that on the 73. Some guy cut me. Anyways,
I think that
Whole other story.
I think NASCAR does have the highest death rate, doesn't it? Because there's not. I just to get to at the top level, right?
Yeah.
Only how many people are in the Cup Series?
There's
30?
about 40.
Yeah.
There's about
40?
38 to 40 teams. Yeah.
40 teams.
Now,
Nah, I take it back.
That's Cup.
But it's still pretty gnarly.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a hard
got a lot
business.
better. It's got a lot better
Yeah.
over the years with the safer
Yeah.
barriers, and to your point, the seats,
Yep.
and all of
From
the
the
technology.
helmets to all of the interior of the car.
Back in when I started watching it with my dad in the early '70s, they drove their cars to the track. It was
It's
it
so
was
crazy.
the family car, and they drove around the
Family
track
car.
smoking a cigarette
Yeah.
with one hand. Now these guys were like, when they had a wreck, there were a lot of fatalities
Well,
then
Ronnie
because they
still
were
thinks that it
bouncing
should be
around
that way.
Yeah,
he
they
tries
were.
to take our car and make it go, and I'm like, no.
We do have.
He's
some-
like, can I take it up to the track?
yeah. I just wanted to run it. a
I
couple
know
of
what you want.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's
and,
awesome.
and the cost of the sport is,
Yes.
is unbelievable. I
That's
know
another
how
thing,
much
too.
Lowe's paid back in 2010 as a primary sponsor for Hendrick. Yeah. And it would blow your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't Camping World have a car?
They did.
We did. We were the primary sponsor actually for the truck series
Okay.
for a little over 10 years. And just got out of that year before last. But yeah, Marcus does sponsor trucks and cars at various races. Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, the company does.
You did trucks, yeah? But you Baja.
Baja.
Oh, I have a friend. Her
right.
husband
Yeah.
does that.
That's a whole nother
I just
wild
got into
thing,
adventure
too.
bikes, so I think there's some bikes.
Like gas.
Yeah, motorcycles.
Yeah, that's
Adventure
dangerous. Yeah,
motorcycles.
those are people. A lot of fatalities on the.
Oh,
Baja
so we're
with
going to sell the
those.
bike. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
On the Baja?
No, I'm not doing it on the Baja. I just me and our oldest son, we got some bikes. I rode Harleys for
Oh
years.
yeah,
and
that's nice.
Oh, wow.
After the first grandchild was born, she wouldn't ride anymore. So our oldest son, he wanted a bike. So I'm like, let's get some adventure bikes. So
Yeah.
it's we
Good
keep our,
bonding
we
time.
keep
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
senses about us. We
Yeah.
do off road
Safety first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
So he says.
Well, I laid it down twice and no injuries, right?
Oh,
Other than my pride bruised a little bit.
I'm in the need.
For
speed. For speed.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Speed. Hey, she loves speed too.
well, listen.
She-
He,
let me tell this story. So her company provides a stipend for Jeeps. So we have a couple of Jeeps in the family. And so she got tired of the two tops. We had the top, we have to take it on. She's like, I want that one touch top. I'm like, that's great. I've been wanting one with a Hemi in it. She's like, why do we need a Hemi? I'm like, why do you need an expensive purse? So we kind of laughed. So
I mean, I really didn't know.
So I called my guy, and he got us the Hemi and went and picked it up. And I was traveling, or you were traveling, and so I left it at home. And so she comes home, she calls me. She's like, oh my gosh, this thing is unbelievable. Now I know why I need a Hemi.
well, listen. A Hemi will make
My
you
wife
believe.
was the same way.
A
She drove
Hemi
the
will make
truck.
you believe
Yeah.
that you're capable of things
she
you're
loves
not.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
She-
Nothing like
It's
power in a car.
It is. There's
nothing
nothing,
like
like it.
Have you pushed the button in your truck?
No, I have not.
What
Yeah,
button?
what-
is
I got a launch button.
Oh, yeah, you need to do the launch.
Yeah, I haven't launched it yet.
Oh,
0 to 100 in
Right.
like 5 seconds.
It's
got a
my favorite
TRX?
car
I
I've
got
ever
the
had.
TRX.
I don't
Oh,
care
okay,
how
yeah.
really
many it is.
fun.
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah.
fun.
You got to do the launch mode. Take it up to about $3,000, man, and let that thing rip.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah, that's
surprised
what I
you
heard.
haven't.
No, I have no need to.
Well, it goes through the whole tank of gas.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the gas
you can watch. Yeah, I was driving.
$120 later.
I don't get to drive her Jeep much, but I was driving it one day, and she's like, "You need to get gas." I'm like, "It's got a quarter of a tank." She's like, "Oh no, it's going to be empty real soon."
Yeah, real
Yeah,
soon.
real fast.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I'll be talking to her, she'll be on her phone, and I'll hear go, "Whoa!"
I love that car. It's
It is awesome.
my favorite car I've ever
for
had.
sure.
It has the optional, what do they call it, performance exhaust.
Yeah, where you
where
turn it
runs
off.
Oh, yeah, you
next to
can
the
hear
road.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She leaves it open. She doesn't want it.
Yeah, that's cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you guys enjoying yourselves, and thank God you found each other.
I know.
You know what I mean? And it takes a special man to take over 3 kids.
Oh, for sure. And well, really the sweetest part I think of it all is watching him get to be a grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Man,
Good for you guys.
he's
Good for you
done
guys.
for.
yeah.
Those grandbabies love Papa D.
Yeah, that man, I get so emotional because I don't have any biological children.
Yeah.
but the kids are just like they're mine, you know. But I remember when our first granddaughter was born, and again I had great grandparents growing up. That my grandparents were awesome. But I remember standing out in the garage, and actually this was 6 years ago, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I thought I don't want to have to hide anything from my granddaughter. I don't want this. I need to give this up, right? And then it was like it hit me. You can be the grandfather you wish you'd always had, and it totally changed me. I mean, I've never been a patient person, but with Hazel, with Blue, our grandson, Millie, Ellie, JoJo, it's completely changed me.
Good for you.
It's
That's
completely
awesome, man.
Did you say Hazel?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hazel May,
Is that the granddaughter?
Yes.
it's the oldest.
So that's my grandma's name, Hazel. And what I was just saying yesterday is a lot of the younger generation, people that are having children right now, are going back to some of these older names,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is really cool, right? They're bringing back the older names. What was the name?
Was it Miranda?
Melinda.
Melinda? Mullen?
Who was it? I don't know.
In my religion, we name you after your grandfather or great grandfather all the time, so our names keep recycling.
Who was Shane?
That was nobody.
How does that make you
But I'm
feel?
just saying.
How does that? Because your brother is your brother is David.
Yeah,
and that was somebody.
Yeah, he was named after
Well, he's in the
somebody.
Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my Hebrew name is Moshe. So it's Moses.
Oh, okay.
So I was named after Moses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he was named after King David. Yeah. Yeah.
I started studying a little Hebrew
Yeah.
about a year ago.
Yeah, nice. Good
Shane's
for you.
Jewish.
Good for you.
It's very it's so amazing when you start studying Hebrew, the original language, and looking at the Eastern versus Western point of view, and how when we read the Bible we take it for what it says,
Right.
but really Hebrew, I mean, there's a lot more meaning behind it.
Yeah, a lot more
Yeah.
meaning.
A lot more meaning.
Yeah.
Like Bereshit.
Yeah.
In the beginning, there's not the in the Hebrew language. It's in beginning.
Yeah.
And Bereshit, and the meaning of that, it's really awesome.
It's an Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's old is new.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you'll find everything old.
I just gave my son the Bible yesterday.
Oh.
The Old
really?
Testament. I just gave it to him yesterday. Yeah.
How old is he?
15.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned grandmothers, and that moment when I realized that I could be the grandparent the ideal grandparent, right?
Yeah.
What you always thought they would be, right? Spoil them, get them jacked up on Mountain Dew and Sour Patch Kids and send them home.
Yep.
A lot more than that, but I did. My grandmother was that example in my life. She never drove. But I never heard her say a negative word about anyone. Now, I've kind of already failed that, but I never, as her grandson, never heard her say a negative word about anyone. And throughout all of my addiction, and everyone had wrote me off, she was the one person that always believed in me. Mm-hmm. And but she was that way about everyone. And right after I had got clean, I was out. I had a cabinet business. I was out of my shop. I say it was a business. It was kind of a front. You know how that goes, right? Yeah. But I had a job and I had to get it done. Well, she was a diabetic and was having surgery, and that still small voice like, you need to go up to the hospital and pray with your grandmother. And the other thing was like, you need to get this job done, and you need the money to pay bills and stuff. And so finally, I shut off the saw and went in, got cleaned up, and went up and went into her room. and doctors and nurses were in there getting ready to take her to surgery. Of course, then it's like, I'm not qualified to pray with these people around and all that. But somehow I mustered up the energy and knelt there by her bed and prayed with her. She went through surgery. And the next day she was supposed to be coming home, and I talked to my mom, and my mom was going to pick her up. And about 10 minutes later, my mom called me back, frantic. Something had happened with my grandmother. So I went and picked my mom up, and we went up there. And long story short, she had a stroke. She passed away a couple of days later. About a month had went by, and I was single at the time. And my cousin cleaned my house, and she was over there cleaning my house. And she said, I was up there with Meemaw after she got out of surgery, and I need to tell you something. And I said, what's that? She said she had heard a lot of prayers in her 80 plus years, but she'd never heard one more beautiful than what you said with her.
Wow.
And I think God taught me a lesson in that, when he speaks, to act, to step out in faith. Even when you feel like maybe you're not qualified, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So that's something I always try to, number one, I always try to be obedient to that voice. But two, when I think of a grandparent, I think of an ideal grandparent. I think of my Meemaw, and just like Justin's watching down on what you guys are doing, and just so blown away and proud. I know my grandmother's doing the same thing,
for sure. For sure.
And I think we all have probably that person in our life,
Yeah.
Sometimes we need a little encouragement, need to be reminded of that, but
big time. I love that.
yeah, it was life-changing for me.
This was really a beautiful podcast, man. I had a good time.
Me too.
Did you guys have a good time?
I did. Thank you for
blast.
having us on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
No,
It's an
thank you
honor.
both. Really.
It's an honor for us as well.
It's we love to share our story. We do it all the time through social. Really, just like I said, to give people hope that where they are, it doesn't have to be where they have to stay.
If you want anything from this or the whole entire thing, we can get that over to you.
Oh yeah, I'll get it out to my following for sure. They're expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told them today we were coming here. So
Oh, amazing.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much
Yeah,
for coming.
appreciate it.
guys
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
guys
you,
for having me.
Amber. Thank you, God.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
You know, Amber connected us.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Without
Amber.
without her, she's actually the reason why I think Canadians are okay, because he's also a Canadian, and
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
So you're questioning it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and
Amber
my dad's a
brings-
Canadian immigrant. like
Canadian.
like I've got Canadian family, and they are weird. I'm not gonna
Aren't
lie.
all families
I love
weird though?
Canadians.
Yeah.
I love Canadians.
sure.
I don't think you're too weird. Oh, Shane likes that. Yeah, Amber and her parents, her whole
Oh, her
They're
family!
amazing.
Oh my
Amazing.
God, dude!
her
like,
dad. You talk about racing. I love dirt track racing too.
Yeah.
And her dad has won like 56 championships. He was
What?
telling me, Mike, he was saying maybe he's going to retire after this year, but
Yeah, they're
just
incredible.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah. If you love NASCAR, if you love racing and you're not following Amber and that story,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that girl, you talk about one that's not going to quit. She's
Sure.
not going to quit.
I'm waiting for hopefully we'll go back to another race event.
You guys, we're going back this next year.
Yeah.
We're going back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You going, babe?
I'll go.
Are we going?
She loves it when
Are we going to Daytona 500? Is that where
Let's-
we're going?
let's-
Or you tell us where?
Yeah.
We'll decide on that. But
Yeah.
Daytona's the best. I love Daytona. We've got some plans for Daytona this year as well. Working with the same guys with Jeff and Butch with
Oh,
Clear,
yeah,
Clear
they're-
28. Was talking with those guys yesterday. We do a lot of stuff together. So yeah, we'll
I
definitely
know
have
it's
to
a
go.
small world.
It was cool for me because I got a taste, just a small taste of what it means to be a celebrity. Because I want to tell you guys a funny story, and then we'll end the podcast.
Pitbull.
They
You already know it.
they thought I was Pitbull
What?
because Pitbull.
A lot
was,
of us thought you were Pitbull.
You thought that too?
Well, for a second, because somebody said that it was Pitbull.
I've been telling him
with
to go to the
Nat-
eye doctor for a while.
Well, they were saying it was Pitbull with Natalie Eva Marie, with the WWE wrestler.
Yeah, and so what happened is, fans were coming up to me,
He wrote it.
and
He wrote
they were
You
like,
do a lot of autographs.
I mean,
I didn't
might
know
as well.
they just wanted selfies, and the very last fan was the best, right? The very last one was the best for me because we were heading over to the pit, and this guy comes running through a big crowd of people, and he's, none of them said, "Hey, pit bull." They were just like, "Can I take a selfie with you?" And I was like, "Sure." You guys watch the Hopeaholics Podcast? Fucking amazing, right? This is awesome. The last guy, though,
We're reaching so many people.
he came up and he was literally put his hand around my back and was shaking because he
was
met
so
Pitbull.
nervous.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is amazing.
But that's a common thing, actually, because he just took our son-in-law, Jerome, to an NASCAR race. And who did they think he was? They were like clapping and cheering and thinking he was, what, a celebrity chef?
Oh, I can't remember.
I can't remember his name, but they literally thought he was this celebrity chef. And they were like cheering for him and not the drivers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was with Natalie Eva Marie, who's like, that's her demographic. And people that watch NASCAR also watch the WWE.
Yeah.
So like, I can go out with her here, and occasionally people are like, "Oh my God!" But everybody looks at her like she's somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody. At NASCAR, we couldn't go like 10 feet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
10 feet, and they were like, "Can I get a picture with?" And Shane and I are like, "Bro, this is why is nobody asking for a picture with us?"
I'm feeling bad for you. I'm feeling bad for you, Shane, because you got Pitbull and Natalie Marie, and Shane's probably going like, nobody wants their picture, their autograph.
I came on. I was going back. This is Pitbull. Let's do it quick. And he said,
Oh yeah, the very first one, the guy ran up and is like, "You're Pitbull, aren't you?" And I had glasses
If you,
on.
why, you should have started dancing and singing.
I was like, "I'm not Pitbull,"
Fireball.
and Shane's
Yeah.
like, Shane's like, "Oh come on, dude, you are. Stop teasing them."
Oh, so
He made
you
it.
dragged it on then.
Oh yeah,
"Man, I'm the wingman."
That's
Yeah.
good.
Love it. That's so
good.
great.
it was funny.
It was.
It was a good
It
time.
was great.
Funny.
It was amazing.
Anyway,
Well, I knew you guys were important. I knew y'all were important, were something because of, just kind of how you were carrying yourself and they were taking you around and stuff.
Well, he called me and he was like, "You remember that girl that you met at the Women in Business event?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "She's here." I was like,
Yeah.
"No kidding."
It's
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah.
Such a small world.
Yeah, but I didn't want to run up and be like, "Hey, my wife knows you" or any of that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you should have.
Shoulda. Yeah.
We
We welcome it.
we love that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she loves that. I love it for her.
It's good. It just
Don't
means
you?
that like
It makes
it's the
me
best
feel cool
feeling,
because
you
then I'm
know?
like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm with somebody that's pretty fucking cool because you guys have to understand she's like my sister now. So
Yeah.
like to me, she's just like,
normal.
yeah,
Well, and that's like I've been fortunate and spent a lot of time with Marcus and you
Yes.
go places, and it's just
For
like
sure.
people wanting autographs and all of
Absolutely.
that, and then I don't think anything about it. We'll post a picture or something, and people are friends are just like, "Oh my gosh, are you really hanging out with him?" And is that your boss? I'm like, yeah, and same thing. It's like we're
I
good
got that. I
friends.
got that. Like Shane and I both got that. We hang out with a celebrity status. I think Emily's got it too. Emily's always been a little bit more starstruck than Shane and I were starstruck when she first came to the podcast.
they
'Cause-
play like they were. They weren't.
No, Shane couldn't he's pacing back and forth in this hallway right here. He's like, and I'm like, "Shane, don't fucking blow it, dude. Don't say something stupid. Don't go out there and say something stupid."
Well, he doesn't say much at all, so I don't think you're.
I love it.
Thank you for that.
I love it.
But there's a lot to be said with that. Listen to understand rather than respond.
go.
I've been working on that for
There you go.
a while.
Yeah, bro.
But
Well,
they
it's
say-
because when he does say stuff, sometimes I have to say,
sorry.
"Guys, he's Canadian."
That's hilarious.
You know what though? What I find in people like Shane that listen so well when they speak, y'all may not remember when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. It's normally very profound. So I would say that
More controversial.
That's what he's a little bit more controversial,
controversial.
which can be profound.
that's good.
Yeah, true.
That's good.
I mean, especially in today's time.
Sure.
Saying what others won't.
I consider Shane, truly, if we ever get a reality TV show, Shane is our fucking guy. He is our wild card.
He's funny.
He's funny. People will love him. You'll have a half of the crowd that will hate him, but they'll want to know every move he makes.
Like Jake
Yeah.
Paul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a genius marketer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The best.
Okay.
Best, hands down.
Oh, we're going there.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Jake Paul. Okay, he is the best marketer in the world because he had me fooled as well.
never fooled me.
Never. Me
I,
either.
I was telling everybody, I'm like, Paul's going to win. If you watched, Tyson supported Paul long ago.
My guy.
Long
Thank
ago.
You. Thank you.
Long ago.
I said this yesterday.
So after Paul's first loss, after his loss, Tyson stepped in. He's like, look, we got to do this thing. He agreed to do that.
Really?
And so yeah, Mike was never going to win, but it was good. Mike's net worth was 10 mil. He got double his net worth
Yeah.
for 16 minutes. Paul wasn't going to crush him, whether he could or
win-win for
not.
them.
It was a win-win for
Well,
them.
I think the whole story about Jake Paul is cool. I mean, this kid was
incredible.
was a
He's really nerdy.
little nerdy kid that just decided to start
He
a
was a
YouTube
Disney star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, even he had to start the YouTube, do the silly videos to get on Disney to be the guy that gets in the ring with Mike Tyson.
It's incredible.
Genius.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Talk
And-
about
and-
reinventing yourself consistently.
But you guys
he's
do
putting
see
in the
you guys
work.
you guys
For
do
sure.
He's
see that
putting
there
in the
was
work.
there was two wide open punches that Mike Tyson just went like this.
Didn't hit too hard.
He didn't
Well,
throw the punch.
I just think it
Well,
was 20 million. I mean,
I would take
but-
I wouldn't get in the ring with Mike Tyson for $20 million though, because I would be brain dead.
But Jake Paul has done more for boxing than
Agreed.
anyone else since Mike Tyson.
Yep.
And Mike Tyson realizes that.
Boom.
And so Paul's training, and he'll get better and better and
Oh, for
better.
sure.
And so they just have to get him the right fights along the way.
I mean, they broke Netflix for God's sake.
Well, not only that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
look at all the
They
people that
did.
tuned into a sport that wasn't really people cared about, and also look at the athletes that are true blue stone cold athletes, like the
Yeah.
Serrano sister girl. She is a stud.
Dude.
Oh, she got robbed.
Okay. robbed.
Can anybody
robbed.
tell
But
me
they got
why she got
paid.
robbed? Why did any
She landed 107
Yeah.
more strikes, and the other one got deducted a point. And
Yeah,
it was
I know.
95-94.
I don't understand how all three. I could have. Look, if the other girl won in a split decision, I would have been a little bit
Yeah,
more okay. But
unanimous.
like, no way did all three of the judges, because I watched the entire fight of hers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she won, in my opinion.
Serrano won?
Serrano won.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Serrano won. And on top of that, she is a beast, because anybody that can keep going
Like,
with
I
an
don't know
with
about
an
that.
eye split open like that
She
and
couldn't
half
not
blind.
either. You know.
Well,
No way.
Well, I think that
She-
the only logical way I can think about it is that when someone's a champion,
Yeah, exactly.
the contender has to really overwhelmingly
That's usually
dominate
how it goes. Yeah.
in each round in order to win.
Yes.
If
And it has
there's-
to be
if
like a
there's
knockout or
yeah.
some type of like it. That's
Yeah.
usually how it rolls for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Especially when you are the guy, it has to be something
Yeah.
that is.
So if you and Shane are going at it and Shane's the champion, you're really and I've got to be able to decide who won the round, and I'm a judge. Unless you overwhelm Shane, Shane's going to get that round.
Right.
And over the fight, I think that's the only way you could explain it, or I could explain.
And all said and done,
Who do you think
She
won,
wins.
Shane?
she wins. Okay. On that note, well done, Shane.
I don't tune into any of that garbage.
I started. I
Did you watch UFC?
garbage.
Did you watch UFC? Bones Jones.
Jones
Ugh.
ain't nobody like him.
He's a
ain't
beast.
nobody like him.
Is he not the
He'll
goat?
go down for.
Golly.
I don't know if we'll ever see another fighter like him
Yeah, I know.
because he is just unstoppable.
What do you think about his physical conditioning?
It's interesting.
Yeah, I would say that too, because I'd be afraid I'd walk outside and he'd be out there or something. But
I know.
He was a little out of shape, huh? A little fat.
yeah, I mean, it's hanging over his trunks, his gut.
Yeah.
And but I mean, he still made it happen.
Yep. He has, and
And
like he said, he
having
has
a little,
a God-given talent.
having
Yeah.
a
And
little
I-
God
fat
has
on you
that,
doesn't,
for sure.
doesn't make
And he's
you-
and he's in it, and he's
he's
stepping
in it.
into it, and he's leaning into it, and I
Yeah.
think God gives us all that.
For sure.
And when we can lean into that and step into that, and it's hard, it's so hard.
Oh yeah, John Jones' story is cool too because I
Yeah.
mean, he's gone through a lot of
Yes.
adversity within
Yeah.
himself. He has
Who
a lot of
doesn't?
demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
You know, and we've talked some about adversity and there's something, a spiritual mentor of mine, Tim LaFleur, this comes from him. He said, the Lord allows adversity for 3 different reasons. One's to bring us to the end of ourself so that we can just rely on God.
Yeah.
Number 2 is to build character. But number 3, and I think the most important, is to give us a story to share with other people to give them hope.
For sure. It's your testimony.
Yep. It's
You
our
get
testimony.
tested.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times we're going through adversity, and I've heard you guys talk about the journey and enjoy the journey and joy in the struggle and all of that stuff. That's a real thing. I mean, and it doesn't matter. You have struggles, I'm sure. People watching may think, oh, they've got it made. But I'm sure that each one of us we've been dealing with struggles.
We don't even have close to have it made.
No.
No, I mean, really, like, we struggle on a daily basis.
We all do.
And I think the 3 of us at one point in our lives were at the very, very, very bottom of life. I was homeless, not shopping cart homeless, but hustling to get a 1999 motel in the ghetto for the night.
Yeah.
I mean, I've walked through parks high on meth all night long because I had nowhere to sleep.
Yeah.
But you can't sit like you two sat here today with honest vulnerability, with tears in your eyes, without that pain, without that despair.
That's right.
It wouldn't be able to convey, or for people to listen, or people to tune in and watch and feel that passion and feel that rawness of what you had to go through to have the seat that you have today without having that adversity. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it would, and I would take that ticket all day long.
Right.
But that just ain't it.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works. Anybody that we admire or look up to or love their story, everyone loves a comeback kid. What movie did we grow up on? Rocky. He went through the shit. He went through until he, with Apollo Creed, to you name it, and that's what we love. As humans, as individuals, you got to go through the depths of despair to reach that ultimate high. That's where like the real, true blue, like inner work and like beast comes out. And that's what you're able to then convey to other people. Like, hang in there. It sucks when you're going through it, and it's misery, and it's painful, and you find out a lot about yourself, and you have tears, and you have just all of the things that you wish didn't happen. But then once you keep going one foot in front of the other, the slowness of that, just one day at a time, you get there. Yeah. And then it's like, oh my gosh. And then you're able to then tell that story, and then it's so it gives people chills.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you couldn't have the gratitude. You
For
couldn't have the gratitude for where you are if you weren't there.
100%.
And how could I be here without that?
For sure.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't be the Tina Joy Carroll I am today had I not gone through all of that really hard stuff.
Yeah, because then you can appreciate and have the gratefulness for the joy, because you had to go through the pain first.
Yeah.
Just how it works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That just sucks, but it is great.
Were you talking about Rocky 1?
No, Rocky 3 is when he went to Apollo Creed, when he beat him. Apollo Creed and him went around and around. Apollo, I think, was 2.
And in Rocky 1 he fights Apollo Creed for the first time and
then loses, right?
And he lost, and then I think he wins in 2.
2.
But 3's so awesome because he makes it to the pinnacle, right? He's the champ, and he is at the top of his world, and then he falls and he loses to Clubber Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. T.
Not looking good. He was
Mr. T.
cancer,
Is he still around?
Mr. T. He's dying.
He battled.
Yeah.
My favorite, though, is when he goes and fights the Russian and has to
Right.
go and pull everything back to the bare bones, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get
Ivan
to, when the
Drago.
things start to come, and then you think you've arrived.
Woo,
You gotta go back.
Last year for me.
Emily's arrived already about 10, 15, 20 minutes ago.
Well, you kept going on. Thank
All right,
you guys
thank you guys
so
so
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you for
y'all.
having us.